As I continue to work on my book in Reedsy, I often leave comments to myself in the manuscript. Mostly this is to help me remember that I want to add certain things or possibly change things throughout the story. For instance, sometimes I'll get a good idea as I'm outside walking around and I quickly get into Reedsy so I can make a comment about what I want to change. So when the first draft is done, I can go back and see if those changes actually make sense. Well, I'm Mike with WriterSanctuary, and today I'm going to show you how to create comments in Reedsy and why they're important. Now, adding a comment is relatively easy and straightforward. You just highlight a section of the text and click on the option to create a comment. Then afterwards, you just add your comment. For example, let's say that I wanted to add something new to my book. I could highlight the text here and then click on the comment here on the bottom right. Then over here, I can add something else. So like I can add a bit more of a backstory. Of course, this book is already published because this is a freelancer's tale, but there we are. So once you have the comment that you want to add, you just hit the comment button, and now it's saved. Now you can come back to it at any point. So like if I was on chapter 6, I could still see that I have changes and comments in the queue, and then I can cycle through them. This means that Reedsy will keep track of all of your comments, no matter how many you have, and I've got quite a few in Fury, and you can just go through and resolve them as you go. So like say I went ahead and added more of the backstory, or perhaps I think that's kind of a dumb idea, I can just hit resolve and it goes away. Something else you can do is instead of hitting resolve, you can always just hit the triple dots here and you can either edit the comment or you can just delete it outright. And if you enable track changes, you can actually keep an eye on all the different changes that happen in your manuscript as you go, including the comments. That way, if you really screw up your manuscript, you can go back in time. And yes, I've had to do that a couple of times. Now, I've used comments to help me remember people's names or to remind myself that I need to add more of a backstory for certain MacGuffins. Or if maybe somebody needs a name, sometimes I'll just use a default elf was here, and then I'll go through and figure out a name for a person if I feel that they're monumental to the plot. Otherwise, you're all just a bunch of red shirts. My point is that I make comments quite a bit about just about everything I write, and it is incredibly helpful. Of course, I do these comments as I'm reading through while I'm writing, because sometimes I'll go through and read the previous chapter just so I can get the flow going again, and sometimes I'll come across things that I've written before that I'm like, this could be worded differently, or perhaps I need a little bit more of a plot point here. So I'll make comments to myself, which is why I'm only on chapter 6 of Fury, and I've already got like 20 different comments that I have to clean up before I hand it off to the beta readers. So why not just make the adjustments as I think of them? Well, first of all, I may or may not use those ideas. Perhaps I think of something that I want to add to the story, but then as the story progresses, the point of it becomes moot. There's a few things like that in Kingmaker that I commented about myself, but it didn't really flow right because of things that changed throughout the book. At which point I just resolved or deleted them. Sometimes I make a decision that isn't just really worthwhile to expand on. The bottom line is that it gives me a chance to think about the different comments that I want to make to the book. That way, I'm not just writing it out and then having to go back and delete it later. Not every idea is a good one. The last thing I want to do is having to scroll back and try to remember what I added and then delete it because it doesn't make sense. I'd have to read my book repeatedly, which I already do. But it just creates more work that way. But if I just make a comment about it, I can contemplate whether I want to add it or not, and then go from there. And yes, there have been quite a few that I wound up adding to the story, but there was also quite a few that I didn't. So essentially it's just a time saver. And a reminder. And usually it's the first draft that winds up getting the majority of these comments because, well, I want to try to revamp the story as much as possible and flesh it out. Of course, the beta readers point out a lot of glaring issues that I have to address, but that's why they're beta readers. That's why it's called a first draft. If and when I get comments back from those beta readers, I will also go through and add those as comments as well. Usually I'll leave comments in the manuscript according to almost every single thing that somebody points out. That'll give me a chance to figure, is it really worthwhile to change this section of it? So this gives you a chance to go through and figure out if those ideas are worth exploring. Overall, not every idea is going to be pinnacle to your story. And the comment system in Reedsy just gives you a bit more time to think about if it's going to be worthwhile. This way you're not wasting your time going back and deleting things that you're not going to use. And don't forget, like I said, if you track your progress in Reedsy, you can always go back in time. If you added something and you completely forgot what it was and it doesn't make sense and you know that you can go back to a certain point and be good, you can. This is extremely helpful when you make too many changes and you ruin your book. There is such a thing as too much micromanagement of your manuscript. Not to mention the fact that you can always back up your manuscript as a docx file from Reedsy, or you can export it as a PDF or EPUB. Personally, I think you ought to back it up as a docx. That way you can copy and paste it or import it back into Reedsy or any other platform for that matter. So anywho, it was kind of a short one today. I just kind of wanted to highlight the comment section of Reedsy. It's a tool that I use extensively. It has helped me a lot, actually. In fact, in Kingmaker, actually, later on in the book, there was a lot of changes that I made thanks to the comment system reminding me that I needed to do those. One of them was a major plot point that I completely forgot in the first draft, but I fixed it. Anywho, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. For more videos about self-publishing, freelance writing, blogging, or anything else I cover, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. I think it's going to do it for me today. I'll see you next time.